No one heard me. Councillors will now declare the meeting open, and apologies and leaves of absence. We do have actually two apologies tonight for leave of absence, and one is from Councillor Jeff Budd, the Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Matt Sharp. And could I have someone please move we accept those apologies? Councillor Steve, Councillor Impey. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Carried. Councillors, we move to item 2 on the agenda, business tonight, community consultation. We have no one listed for community consultation, is my understanding. Councillors, we'll move straight into item 3, and could I ask if somebody could move that the minutes of the previous meeting submitted are true and correct record?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, happy to move that with a minor amendment.
Yes.
In item 7.2, during the motion the amendment I put to council last week, there was some confusion. Now I've gone back through the video and just wanted to change the section where it says, consider that the old athletics track be a strategic piece of land that council retain this land for its future use. My words verbatim were, considering that council recognises the strategic civic value of the former athletics track and includes its considerations. In its considerations, the options for retention of the land by Tamworth Regional Council. And I'm happy to speak to that if...
Well, you need a second to say whether it's Councillor Rook.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to clarify that. My issues with the wording of the amendment, in the minutes it suggests that we were voting on retaining ownership of the site as a certainty, whereas my motion was to suggest that we consider that be the course of action, not to definitively keep the land. So that's why I put that amendment to the motion in, or the minutes.
Doesn't really, yeah, okay. Councillors, anyone wish to object to that change to the minutes? There not being any move to object to that. Happy to change that, councillors. So we have a mover and a seconder on those minutes. Any other comments on those minutes? There being no other comments, I'll put the minutes. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
With the amendment, with the little change. Thank you. We'll move straight to item 4, disclosure of interest. Do we have any disclosures of interest? There's no disclosure of interest. We'll move to 5, Merrill Minute. There is none. We'll go to item 6, notice of motion. There is no notice of motion tonight. We'll move straight into open council reports. 7, environmental and planning. Councillors, we have no environmental and planning reports tonight, but move to item 8, infrastructure and services, and I'll call for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Sutherland moved. Councillor Rook seconded. Councillor Sutherland, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, Mr Mayor. In full support of the recommendation, both the report put together by staff, I think is really courageous in being able to merge two important documents, looking at the Peel River Preliminary Environmental Assessment Report and the Yarrin Cultural Case Study that was recently adopted. Having those two key plans merging together to create an action list and a vision moving forward makes sense, rather than having two plans, having the one. It's also a really bold move looking forward. One of those plans is really engineering focused, environmentally focused, and the other is really culturally focused. And so this is a really big step forward in looking at our rivers as not only an important waterway and water infrastructure moving waters from dams to irrigators, it's also making sure that our rivers are seen as valuable cultural landscapes. And the two can coexist. And I agreed to, in the report, will make us a lot more competitive and attractive to secure external funding for projects for river restoration. A conversation that's happened quite often has been, well, what is local government's role in caring for river systems? We know that the water is state water, and we know that fisheries play a role in that space too. There's more and more conversations within the community saying that as a council, we can play a role in advocating for healthier rivers. Fortunately, I was a part of a conversation with some Carol Rossi students back in March where an entire class were part of a national learning project looking at healthy river systems. Two of the students are here, Digby and Noah, in the gallery, because a letter that they wrote to council asking for council to really consider positive action in looking after our rivers is coming to fruition in the way that we shape our plans. And so I know that some people might sit back and say that the $40,000 allocation to remove the old causeway is community money spent in a river system that's technically could be argued it's someone else's responsibility. It's an investment, a significant investment by the community, making sure that our rivers are looked after, because we know that healthy rivers make healthy communities. I'm in full support of this recommendation. Really want to make special mention to the students here that are pushing for change in public spaces.
Council, does anyone wish to speak to that recommendation with further comment? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, well, culturally, we know the value of the river and the river that runs through our city, and also, indeed, the rivers that run through our towns and villages as well. The Manila River, through Manila, for example. But it's also the social value of the river systems, and of course, the healthier they are, the more aesthetically pleasing they are. And we know the value, for instance, of I think it's the McIntyre River that runs through Inverell. It's probably the most popular area for those who like to enjoy their lunch and relax outside of working hours, because they don't have a beach, but they have a very nice river environmental ecosystem. And ours is on the way, I think. I think council and the community has wanted a space along the river there for a long, long time, and some work has been done to start with that. But socially, I think that the river that runs through our city is just as important as any other element, including the cultural element of that, which is very important, of course, as well as the health of our river.
Thanks, Councillor Impey. Any further comments? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm not going to object to it, but we need to be very careful that there are other tiers of government that have responsibility for riverine corridors, including obviously fisheries, as Councillor Sutherland mentioned, also Water New South Wales, and probably the Office of Environment and Heritage. And look, we wouldn't want to bite off too much than we could chew, because there'd be a lot of money that we could expend on removing potentially the woody weed burden that's within the Peel River, along that area adjacent to CBD. But obviously, the other agencies from the state government have more power than we do. I just think that we need to be careful that we don't ask questions about, can we do this? And then they say, yeah, go for it, when we don't have a budget for actually removing some of that weed burden, and also addressing things like erosion, which is significant along parts of the Peel River adjacent our CBD. But I'm very supportive of it, but I just think we better be very careful about what we take on that really probably could be the other tier of government's responsibility.
Thanks, Councillor Rodder. Further comments? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye and raise their hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors will now move to item 8.2, the Water Leak Network Detection Program. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved Councillor North, seconded Councillor Brook. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
No, it's fine. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that? I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Raising their hands, carried unanimously. Quite a good report. Councillors will now move to a rather interesting item 8.3. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Brook, seconded Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Brook, you wish to speak to that?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Look, obviously the news of the Water New South Wales increase, while not as high as originally forecast, is pretty disappointing. But I did want to talk on this item just to thank Mr. Logan for putting this report together. Personally, this is something that I enjoy seeing in our business papers. Even though there are no recommended resolutions or actions for council to consider here, I do really appreciate the format of putting a detailed report to council. This could have just been could have just been a workshop presented to councillors, and indeed we did have several workshops in relation to this topic so far. But the impact this will have on not only what we get charged for water, but by extension what we will have to look at charging residents for water in the future is obviously considered important enough to publish this report in a business paper and make it publicly available for residents to read as well. And I just wanted to commend that transparency.
Councillors, anyone wishing to speak against the report being received and noted? No. Further comments? Councillor Sutherland?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I agree with Councillor Brooke. Having this come forward in the meeting really highlights the process that we've been on as a council when it comes to the water charges that are now being increased and transferred over to us, which, as the report says, won't impact on people's water usage rates this year, but will be a consideration in the future. Council hasn't raised the cost of water. This has been done by state water and then passed through regulations, and now there's going to have to be a conversation around how do we as a council manage this into the future with limiting the financial burden that's going to be transferred over to residents. You know, personally, the cost seems to keep increasing. It seems to keep, no matter how much we argue against, you know, this kind of process because of the impact it has on us as a region. Feels like no matter what we say, this is the process and this is how it's always going to end up. Is there something we can do better to not be in these positions, or is there something wrong with the system altogether?
Councillor Sutherland, I've got an opinion on that, but I might ask our director to make some comments if he wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could talk about this for a long time. I'll try and be brief. I think Councillor Sutherland, I think the system is broken. I think I've been at this for 20 odd years and the price of water has never gone anywhere but up. And when we consider that Water New South Wales' original proposal was a 300% increase in water charges for Peel consumers, and then there's nothing more certain to me that at the end of IPART's 12-month review, prices will go up again, and they are going to continue to go up into the future. And it seems to me that that's unsustainable. It's unsustainable in the Peel, and it's getting more and more unsustainable in more and more valleys in New South Wales. And therefore, in my view, the government has to look at the system that it's using to set these prices. And the easy answer is the government needs to provide more subsidy, more community money, if you like, towards the cost of the provision of water. Water New South Wales is charged with a role, and that is to maintain and operate dams, and they are saying this is how much it's going to cost us to maintain and operate and provide those services. IPART's reviewing those costs, so no other business has that level of review to see whether their costs are accurate. And on that basis, if Water New South Wales can't get enough money, what's going to happen? If the government can't charge the customers or the people who are taking water out of the system enough to recover that amount of money, then the only thing that has to change is the government has to provide more sponsorship, community support. And I think we need to have a look at the system. I think it's broken.
Councillors, anyone wish to make it? Councillor Mears?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to support the comments made by my fellow councillors and thank Mr. Logan and his team for an incredible report. And yes, unfortunately, it's one of those circumstances that IPART will make their decision and we won't have any say over it. So I'd like to lift that burden off the shoulder of council. If those prices go up, we may very well have to follow suit. We can look at other measures to minimise that as best we can, but we're probably in a less financial situation than the state government are. So, I just want to reinforce that it's not a decision by council that we're going to whack up the water prices. It's something that we have no control over, and we'll look at it at the time at the best of our ability. And if we can make it a little easier, we will try. And if we can't, we just have to pass those costs on, unfortunately.
Councillor Mears, Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's a bit galling that the investment that Tamworth Regional Council made in the augmentation of Chaffey Dam, and we don't get any tangible benefit out of that. And secondly, I think maybe the government should be looking at their two water arms, and maybe there's some savings to be made out of amalgamating the Water Administration Ministerial Corporation with Water New South Wales. But I think that most importantly, what I would like to see, if we're going to pay double from next year, it would be good to know that when we get to the next drought, that we are not impacted the way we were between the 2017 and 2020 drought with those unfettered water releases out of Chaffey Dam. I'd like to think that if we're paying for it, we're paying for security, and that will be reflected in obviously the cost, but also the fact that there will be water left in there when we face the next drought. So that's what I would like to see. I'm certainly not happy with the increases that they proposed, but it still is a monopoly asset owned by the government. I think that they should be mindful of the impact that it will have on residents and industries and farmers around the whole of the state of New South Wales.
Thanks, Councillor Rodder. Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I will just make one quick comment, and that is that we here in the Peel Valley pay much more than any other valley in New South Wales, and that's related to the size of the dam and the cost of running that dam. Of course, are amortised across a smaller amount of water than they are down south of us. So our costs up here are incredibly more expensive than they are in places, and I'm going to use Griffiths as an example, and I think it's somewhere around that 7 times more than what they're paying, somewhere around that, I think, Director. So look, unless the government of the day could adopt a different methodology for imposing costs on water supply to communities across New South Wales, and what I mean by that is the only fair way of doing it, in the opinion of many, is a postage stamp price, so that water across New South Wales will cost the same wherever you live. It's like posting a letter. If you post a letter from Moree, it will cost you whatever a stamp cost. If you post a letter from Broken Hill, it will still cost you the same. Well, water should be treated the same. It should be postage stamp pricing, a bit like electricity. Electricity is supplied across the nation, and in the state of New South Wales, depending on the energy distributor or supplier, those costs would be very similar from one area to another. But within water, there is no thought about that, and the methodology they're using, I think, is outdated and unfair. I will just make a very quick comment for those in the audience that this will not impact on water prices this year. Those prices have already been set, so there'll be no changes to prices this year. So, councillors, having all spoken, I will ask the councillors, all those in favour of accepting the recommendation as a received and a noted report, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Thank you. Councillors, we'll move straight into 9, governance strategy. We have 9.1. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Impey, seconded Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Impey, you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that report? There being no any further comments on that report, all those in favour, please raise their hand and say aye. Carried unanimously. We'll move to item 9.2, ordinary council meeting schedule amendment. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Mears, seconded Councillor Brooke. Councillor Mears, you wish to speak to that? Anyone wish to speak against the change? I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye with raising their hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors, will move from there to item 9.3, annual operational plan budget variation. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Sutherland, do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, just a quick comment to say how good it is to see so much external grant funding coming in, whether it be through roads or bridges or even for libraries. You know, the ability to attract external money is important, and to see that come through in the variation is a really positive thing to see.
Anyone wish to speak against that report, the recommendation in that report? Anyone wish to make further comment on that? There being no further comments, councillors, all those in favour say aye by raising your hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move on to 9.4. Could I have somebody please move? Move Councillor Brooke, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that report? Anyone wish to make comment on that report? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess it's a sign of the times we live in. Who would have ever thought that a local council authority would have to have a modern slavery prevention policy in place, or in this case, draft at the moment? But I guess as an organisation ourselves, we supply customers with a purchased product and service, and I guess we need to do whatever we possibly can to ensure that we are not feeding, modern slavery and corrupt enterprises. And the more of this type of policy that can be supported by businesses all around the world, the less of risk there is of people who are in less fortunate positions to ourselves in our own world we live in. We live in a very fortunate country, and I think one of the best regions in Australia. The more we can do to help prevent that, the better. And I think this policy is something that is, whilst it's quite unbelievable, but sorely needed.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Rodder.
I'd like to raise a matter arising, if I could.
Sorry?
I'd like to raise a matter arising from this matter.
Yes. Further comments, councillors? I'll just go straight to that, Councillors, I might ask all those in favour, if there's no more comments, to either raise their hands in support. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillor Roddy, you've got a matter arising.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Around our city, historically, people have complained to me and other councillors and even council staff about the use of homes, particularly used as illegal share houses. And I was wondering, so that seems to be a significant issue, and I'm just wondering what we are doing as a council in the compliance space to address those concerns of people where houses have been used basically overpopulated or got too many people residing at them at any one time. What are we doing in the compliance space to address that?
Councillor Rodder, I can't personally answer that question, but the director may be able to.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Rodder, unless we have complaints, well, we wouldn't know. So that's one thing. And then I'm not aware of any actual laws within, say, the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, for example, or the Local Government Act that actually says you can only have so many people in a house. So I'm not quite sure. It'd have to be that the number of people is actually causing disruption to the neighbours. So the complaint would have to be based on that. But I must admit, I haven't heard from my compliance team that we've had complaints in that respect, certainly not lately.
Thank you, Gina. Mr. General Manager, you want to make a comment?
I'll try to, Mr. Mayor. My voice is not that great, but so Councillor Roddy, you're right. We've had a number of these in the past, particularly pre-COVID. There was a bit of a spate of them. I think we had sort of 4 across 18 months. And it was largely to do with the firm that was actually bringing the overseas workers into the city and providing them accommodation, not necessarily the people that were then using them in their individual enterprises. So it was the people who were participating in the scheme to bring the workers into Australia that were then providing the housing. And yes, we had complaints about a number of vehicles and everything from how much rubbish was being produced and all that sort of stuff. We actually brought in an external consultant or an external resource that had some particular experience in dealing with those types of matters. and he basically dealt with all of those complaints rather than having our local staff with the local relationships and so on undertaking that work. And we haven't had one now for quite some time. There's been a couple raised with other authorised programs and so on, some of the disability support programs and shared housing with carers and so on, but we've not had any to do with the overseas workers for some time that I can remember.
Councillor Rodder, does that suit your? No further comments. Council will now move on to item 10, Community Services, 10.1, Regional Arts Advisory Committee. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Brook, second to Councillor Mears. Councillor Brook, you would speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In relations to the recommendations made by the Arts Advisory Committee about public murals, this is something the committee is very excited to accelerate throughout our region, and these two projects will make a very visible and lasting impact if approved. The Vision mural just across the road from us at the town, across from the town hall, is a pretty entrenched part of our CBD after many years. Sadly, though, it has been faded and damaged in parts, so I think it's well due for decommissioning and a replacement mural, either in the same location or somewhere else as visible. And having the original artist's son on board to do the replacement, I think, is a really cool piece of continuity. For the proposed SES mural, I think that's really a win for everybody involved. The SES get recognition for the good work they do. Council gets to use a piece of infrastructure for a dual purpose with funding already supplied to us, and our residents get another piece of public art to enjoy. So I'm very supportive of this proposal and looking forward to hearing more about potential sites we can identify for it. Although I do enjoy the idea of having this done in Ntunga and helping create somewhat of a regional arts trail throughout the length of our LGA. So I commend the item and I hope it finds support from other councillors who may not be on the committee.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation? Any further comments on the recommendation? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors will now move to reports to be considered in closed council, and I'll ask the General Manager, have we had any of those reports requested to be put in open?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any questions from the audience about open council and the reports in closed? No. Councillors, could I have someone? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to item what would be currently 11.2, proposed lease agreements for public museums, would that need to be in closed, given that it is related to museums that are managed largely by volunteers on behalf of TRC, and also museums that are managed directly by TRC? Would that be an issue as far as 10A of the Local Government Act?
Councillor Rodder, I'm going to ask for some.
Mr. Mayor, I think Councillor Rodder is probably okay. All I would do is say that if the council's bringing it into open council, then you shouldn't make any comments regarding the financial circumstances of any of the individual museums or galleries in discussing the determination of the leases.
Should I therefore move a motion that be brought in open council?
Yes, you can move that. And we got a seconder. Councillors, do we have anyone wishing to speak against that? Councillors, I'll put the notice that we move item 12.2 into open council to councillors. All those in favour say aye, raising their hands. Carried. Councillors, we'll go straight to item 12.2 and we'll talk about that in open council. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor North, seconder Councillor Mears. Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor North?
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody wish to speak against the recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Councils, I'll now call for a motion to move into closed council. Councillor Mears, seconded Councillor Impey. All those in favour say aye. All right. Thank you. We'll move into closed council. Mr. General Manager, you can report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is the report of the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 22nd of July 2025. You considered 5 items in closed council this evening, and for all of those items you adopted the recommendations as per your business paper.
Councillors, could I have a motion to receive? Councillor Sutherland, second to Councillor North. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Councillors, the meeting's now closed. Just one quick item before we